Good morning, honorable colleagues, participants, audience in the Netherlands, and good afternoon, colleagues, participants in Indonesia. So, welcome session. Uh, uh, can I see? Okay, I will read the program as follows. So, for the first 5 minutes, the opening comments by Professor Maria Yastenpas from uh, Leiden University Medical Center, Professor Tanya Wapiswali from University of Indonesia. And then the next 15 minutes, uh, Dr. Mikhail Manurung and Professor Joris Rothmans will read the results of the online survey. And then the next 30 minutes will be pitches of ideas for collaborative projects between Indonesian and Dutch colleagues. The order of the pages is the following. So first, from another university about influenza and other respiratory viral infections, and then neglected tropical diseases and nutrition and leprosy. And then the second from the Ministry of Health Indonesia about leprosy, and the third from University of Indonesia about diabetes epidemiology, from University of Indonesia about kidney disease, and the last from the University of Atmajaya about intestinal protozoa and inflammatory diseases. So please note your turn so that I can efficiently go through the pages. And then after that, the 20 minutes, the next 20 minutes will be discussion, charting the forward, and the last 10 minutes will be closing remarks by Professor Siti Wahyuni, Ustaz Hasanuddin, and Ms. Susan Crusher from LUMC Global. That's the program. So first 5 minutes opening remarks from Professor Tanyawati Supali and Professor please. Time is yours.
Thank you, Prof. Inge. So, good morning for all participants from the Netherlands, and good afternoon for all participants from Indonesia. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity to open this event. The collaboration between Universitas Indonesia and Leiden University Medical Center has been ongoing for nearly 35 years. In 2007, with support from KNAW2 and the European Union, Professor Maria Yosdanbach and I established a community-based research initiative in Nangapanda and the district Nusa Tenggara Timur province. At the time, our research focused on the shift from communicable to non-communicable diseases, and our first study addressed the elimination of soil-transmitted helminth and its impacts on allergy. And then followed by research on the soil-transmitted helminth infection and type 2 diabetes. And this project was funded by KNAW 3. The success of our medical collaboration brought us the idea to incorporate social aspect into our research. In 2018, a medical and social teams from Leiden University Medical Center visited Universitas Indonesia in Depok in order to discuss the joint research with team from Universitas Indonesia and Universitas Gadjah Mada. The discussion continue in 2019 at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Unfortunately, the pandemic put this talk on hold. Through the year's winner meeting today, I'm hopeful that with the involvement of Universitas Airlangga, Universitas Atmajaya, and Universitas Hasanuddin, this collaboration can come to the fruition. Thank you. Professor Maria, you can continue the opening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Tanya. It's a really pleasure to welcome everyone. And, you know, we've had discussions about collaborations, of course, and last winter we had a session, and then, you know, the question was, you know, we need to have follow-up. So the idea came about that maybe we should create a knowledge hub because that will be something that continuously is there. Yeah. So, you know, if there are no grants opportunities the moment we are having the winner discussion, then maybe we can't write grants. If we are, you know, if we have a platform like a knowledge hub, we can keep each other informed of all kinds of happenings and take the opportunities to write grants together, to write papers together, to share knowledge. So that's why we have this session, to see whether we want to create a knowledge hub which will really build on the opportunities where we are going from urbanization, which is happening. So moving from rural to urban areas changes disease patterns, and it's important to really understand that fully. So can I have the first slide, please, from my talk? I just want to pitch this. So we know that there is a strong rural to urban transition in Indonesia, so that provides opportunities to understand what it does to our health. Next slide, please. And it is the Knowledge Hub is really to try and bring together scientists and to really get the knowledge that is shared with not only scientists, but also with industry, with policymakers, and, you know, to really compare maybe populations in different areas, in various technologies that we have. We can apply our technologies to population studies. You know, by working together, we can really generate a diversity in knowledge that otherwise it's not, it's very restricted and it's tunneled into small silos. So that's the idea of, you know, setting up a hub. Can I have the next slide, please? And we have many years of collaboration, not only between me and Tanya, my good friend for 35 years, but also many others that have been working together for many years, and doing projects together, and even doing projects right now. But there's a lot of interest for people, and in particular, I hope the young generation to contact each other and to to combine their knowledge together, apply for grants, write papers together. Next slide, please. So the idea of this Knowledge Hub will really be to build a network that is interested in this transition from communicable to non-communicable diseases. And the platform can be to exchange ideas, to exchange technologies, to exchange the knowledge generated from populations, exchange data. Next slide, please. We are particularly interested to champion women researchers. They often need more support in these areas, so we would be dedicated to that as well, and to engage, as I said, with industry, but also with policymakers. So it's a very ambitious set of things that we need to first establish a hub, we need to roll out its activity, and in the end we have to really try and evaluate that to see how it works and to try and improve it. Next, please. So with that, there was a survey set out. Quite a few people have participated in a survey to say, do we want this knowledge hub? How do we want this knowledge hub to be formed? And what are the questions that we would like to answer through this knowledge hub? What are the needs? And that has been analyzed by Mikael Manurung, and I'll give the floor to him.
Yes, so next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, thank you for all of those who have filled the questionnaire. So we have received 32 respondents, answers from 32 respondents in total, and 66% of, or 21 of which were women. So we are happy to see the representation here. And there are, and the people who filled the forms, they were from the Ministry of Health of Indonesia and various universities, including University of Indonesia, Erlangga, Atmajaya, and Hasanuddin. And so far, there is only LUMC from the Dutch side, but we hope to have more in the future. But we'll discuss that later. So next slide, please. So we have representation from various career stage here, and as you can see, the majority are researchers, but there are also several clinicians, lecturers, and also we are happy to see several students in the among the respondents. And in the field of research, oh, not yet. And in the field of research that we are all interested in, it is quite diverse. So immunology is quite a big topic, and there are various infectious diseases, including influenza, parasitology, and there's also non-communicable diseases such as diabetes. So next slide. Yes. And regarding the areas and activities for collaboration, so the majority of us were indeed interested in infectious disease, and there are various people who are interested in metabolic health, bioinformatics, epidemiology, and there are also various other fields that we are all interested in. And regarding the activities for collaboration, so it is exciting to see that there are quite a lot of people that are interested in co-authoring a grant proposal or article, which can be a long-term activity for this knowledge hub, and joint course for the relatively short activity for the hub. And finally, there's also interest for research visit or internship. Next. So this is, and in addition to the activities earlier, we also asked what are the proposed activities that can be conducted by this knowledge hub. So here you can see that there are various short and long-term activities, either for individuals or between institutions. And I think there are a lot of promising activities that we can consider and eventually adopt for this knowledge hub. Next slide. And when we ask for the potential partners to be included in this knowledge hub, we are glad to see that there are various universities, institutions, not only between Indonesia and Netherlands, but also from other countries, including Japan and Malaysia. And hopefully in the discussion later, we can eventually discuss how we are eventually going to reach out to those potential partners. Next. Yeah. And we are happy to see that there are a lot of people, so more than 80% of people that are willing to actively participate in organizing or managing this collaborative effort. And of course, the time commitment for this collaboration varies, but there are quite a few, more than a third of people willing to commit 1 hour every week for the knowledge hub. So we hope that this knowledge hub will indeed be sustainable. Next. And well, regarding the anticipated challenges for this knowledge hub, time, language, and funding seems to be among the top 3 biggest challenge that we are facing. But fortunately, we think that there are 12 out of 32 respondents. They feel familiar about research environment in the other side of the on the other side. So we think that it's not that only 2 or 1 people that knows how to navigate across the cultures, but there are quite a few, and hopefully these people, these individuals that are already familiar with how the culture and research environment differs could help other people to navigate this as well. Next slide. And regarding the means of communication, so email and WhatsApp group seems to be the two most frequently mentioned medium of communication. But there is a few respondents that did mention that WhatsApp group seems to be the most effective way, especially if we want to include researchers from Indonesia to actively participate in the hub. Next slide. And there are, so this is the top 10 frequently occurring remarks for this knowledge hub that I have summarized, including to support women in science, the importance of having a gender mixed groups for creativity and success. And there are various positive remarks, including hopefully it will initiate a successful collaboration between Indonesia and the Netherlands, have various advances in scientific research, as well as improving knowledge and research and addressing challenges in health sciences. Next slide. All right, so that would be all from the summary. So we'll first have a research pitch, and we'll discuss the summary result, summary later on in the discussion. So
who's next?
yeah, so next slide. Okay, so should I just say? Okay, and so this is the order of the pitch. Hopefully people can note this down and be prepared to present their pitch according to this order. So first we'll go to the first pitch on the importance of biodiversity and health in an urbanizing world, and this will be presented by
Siti Wahyuni.
Okay. All right.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Right, so this is on behalf of Siti Wahyuni from UNHAS, who's been collaborating with Professor Hermelijn Smits, and there a big team is involved, University of Indonesia, Atmajaya, TU Delft, Naturalis, and the Technical School in Leiden. And this is really about looking at the impact of biodiversity on health. Next slide, please. So, this is really about looking at factors where we can maybe try and change the immune system and therefore the health of people. We know that there is a lot of influence of diet on the microbiome, and microbiome itself will influence the immune system, which is really important in balancing the balancing of a healthy life. If you have a disbalance of your immune system, you will be, of course, developing allergies, diabetes, other inflammatory diseases. And that's where the focus is, to try and understand the microbiome and how that is affected by a city and various aspects of a city. So looking at, a more rural area versus urban area, look at the traffic, for example, how that air pollution, how is the food intake different in these different geographical areas, how is architecture of an area influencing the microbiome, for example, and the exposures that we have to the environment, because that can influence the immune system. Next slide, please. So various methods are developed to work together, where you can actually look at the airways directly by looking at just brushing the nose. It's a very non-invasive method that gives you a lot of information about the microbiome and about some of the immune cells and how it is different between a rural and an urban area where the exposures are so very different. Next. And indeed, there's been already some work, very preliminary work, and it's going to be a bigger program. They're hoping to be able to look at respiratory health and look at the immune system in the airways. That's one of the starting points that they're interested in with UNHAS. And students from in the Netherlands come and work with students in Indonesia to together work on different parts of this program. So it's an opportunity to put maybe a grant proposal together, and people who are interested should really contact the group so that we can be in conversation with them. Thank you. I think next slide. This is Prof. Inge.
I represent my colleagues from Langga University to present our proposed studies. So this slide shows our previous study, influenza and other respiratory viral infections. So we have since 2012, we have continued fixed point surveillance for avian influenza viruses at the live poultry market, and also the seasonal influenza in human, that's in East Java since 2013 to 2019. And we found that H5N1 viruses were constantly isolated from sick or dead poultry at the market in rainy seasons and also in dry seasons. We isolated avian influenza virus even in asymptomatic poultry animals and identified 5 new subtypes of virus and successfully determined the origin of the genetic reassortment. So this figure shows our result on the among influenza-like illness, people with influenza-like illness with type B, influenza, type A, H1 pandemic type, and H3. And this figure shows the result among sick poultry at the live poultry market in East Java, H5N1. So it is possible that H2N2 virus currently circulating in poultry, duck, and H1N1 pandemic type in human co-infect in human and raise a reassortment with pandemic potential as it happened in 1957. And the right one, that's the SARS-CoV-2 experiment we do, and we did the WHO surveillance and have submitted to GSAID around almost 5,000 sequences. Also, we do propagation, translation, clinical samples to utilize as antiviral study, and also doing measurement of neutralization antibodies against SARS-CoV-2. Okay, and next slide, please. Our proposed study discover a new variant of viruses in respiratory tract, East Java, and develop the diagnostic kits, and also we propose viral in respiratory tract. About the funding, we have already collaboration with BRIN, still initial, and we got BRIN internal funding later, and I think LUGF is an interesting offer, and probably we can also UNER internal funding. Okay, next please. So this is the other study on neglected tropical diseases focused on malaria, transmitted famines, and nutritional status of children in Indonesia. And here is the data from the Ministry of Health about the prevalence of malaria in Indonesia and eastern part of Asia, filariasis, prevalence in eastern part in Indonesia, stunting, and also from the published papers, the prevalence of STH in North Jakarta comparing so in Sumatra, in Solo, Papua, and in Sulawesi. Next, please. So by analyzing the anemia from malaria and from STAs, and then how about the changes in the gut microbiota, the nutrition intake, will it impair the nutritional status in children? So we want to analyze the impact of the changes of gut microbiota in children with anemia caused by STAs and or malaria. Okay, next please. And the last is the leprosy study. I think Professor Anamika has been in contact with Dr. Kita about the WGS study analysis of microbacterium persistent and several leprosy as candidates for development of local isolate-based diagnostic kits and the efforts for early detection of MD therapy resistance in Asia. Also, zero survey of leprosy in children planned to be performed between the LUMC and microbiome leprosy. Dr. Regita already in contact with Professor. Okay, thank you. The funding has been proposed to the Netherlands repository. Thank you. Next.
Thank you. So next, please.
Yeah. So hello everyone, my name is Louisa and I'm presenting on behalf of Professor Annemieke Geluk, myself and Hana Krismawati, who is also joining online. Next slide, please. So leprosy is a poverty-associated neglected tropical disease caused by Mycobacterium leprae. Most cases still occur in India, Brazil, and Indonesia. This accounts for approximately 80% of the cases. And Papua is the area that is most highly endemic in Indonesia, and this is where our research will focus on. Currently, there is no good indicator for transmission that's ongoing, but the World Health Organization has now recommended to use seroprevalence in children as a proxy for recent transmission. So why is this in children? Of course, if you look at antibodies, this can be recent or past infection. So therefore, we want to look in children because per definition, this will be recent. How will we measure this? We have taken many years with our team at the IMC to develop a field-friendly test, which you can see on the right bottom of the slide. It's in a cassette. It's very easy. It's lateral flow based, and it's quantitative. Next slide, please. So the idea is in Papua to go to elementary schools and include about 1,000 children between 5 to 7 years old. We will take a minimally invasive finger prick blood, 20 microliters. We will transport the samples and perform the lateral flow assays, and they will be analyzed by a portable reader. And then the goal is to obtain seroprevalence data baseline for Papua. We have already done this for India using the same test. So using a standardized test, the aim is to be able to eventually compare worldwide to also look at different countries to see whether we can actually say something about transmission that is still going on. And we think it might also be interesting to look at the comparison in rural versus urban. So if you have any ideas or questions or suggestions on collaborations, then those are really welcome. So thank you.
All right, next slide. Yes, so I will present this pitch on behalf of Marta Rosana, who is a PhD student between University of Indonesia and LUMC, and currently supervised by Maria, Rene, and Dicky. So her research is focusing on diabetes epidemiology in Indonesia. So she leveraged the wealth of data from the Bogor Non Communicable Diseases Risk Factors Cohort study that has been going on from 2012 to 2021, and as well as the National Health Survey or risk assessment from 2018, as well as, and finally, the National Health Survey or SKI from 2023. And she used all of this data to obtain the prevalence of undiagnosed diabetes mellitus, as well as its determinants. And as a background, at 2000, from the National Health Survey from 2009, the prevalence of undiagnosed diabetes mellitus was 70%, whereas the global prevalence from the International Diabetes Federation was around 45%. So the estimate of the undiagnosed diabetes in Indonesia is much higher, but it was using the relatively older data. So with this new data, we hope, well, the team hope to obtain a better estimate. And also using all of these databases, the team can also obtain the prevalence of diabetes and its determinants and the treatment adherence, whether the glycemic control is attained. And using the cohort study, the team can also obtain the incidence rate and risk factors of diabetes mellitus from those who have normal blood sugar and as well as those who had prediabetes. And finally, they can also use the cohort to see the chronic complications of diabetes. And next. And with the proposed, in the future, the team proposed to expand this research on the various centers from the academic institute that are also involved in this knowledge hub, and that includes Surabaya from University of Erlangga, so including the Sutomo Hospital, with Makassar Unhas, including the Wahidin Sudiroho Hospital, because the research was also previously done in the tertiary hospital in Jakarta, in the Cipto Mangunkusumo Hospital. So it is a natural extension of the study that currently exists. And in addition to investigating all the social demographics of those who had diabetes, or who had diabetes, we can also analyze the complications of diabetes, whether patients adhere to treatment and whether the treatment goals can be attained. And finally, there is also the effort to do genomic study initiated by the PGSI, and that can also be extended on patients that are enrolled in all of these tertiary hospitals. And so this not only, and after having a full picture of the situation of diabetes epidemiology in Indonesia, the team can then compare with the situation in Netherlands to have a better overview of how diabetes differs across the countries. So next. So I'll give the floor to Joris Rotmans, whether is he here? So he should be. If not,
It's not really.
hmm?
It's not, we have to move.
It seems, yeah. So
Maybe just have you discussed it?
No, I haven't.
Maybe quickly just about the chronic kidney disease. Sorry. Okay. So maybe we're not sure if Joris Rotmans is here, and unfortunately, Made, who is the PhD student, she doesn't have the voice in Indonesia. Only a few people could have the stage to voice, and therefore, we are representing on behalf of some people who are in Indonesia and do not have the stage. And I know that the PhD student is interested in chronic kidney disease. So Made and Joris Rotmans, with a team between UI and LUMC, they're looking at this epidemiology of chronic kidney disease, the risk factors and predictions. So I mean, these slides will become available. The session is recorded, so if people are interested to join in this and know more about it, they can contact the Joros Rotmans and Made Hustirini. So we'll move to the next presentation, please. Next one, please. Yeah. So the floor is now to
Maria Kaisa.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning and afternoon to hosts in the Netherlands and Indonesia, respectively. My name is Maria Kaiser. I'm from Atmajaya Catholic University of Indonesia. It's very happy to be here together with my professor, Professor Maria Stenbaks and Professor Taniawati Supali, as well as the other respected professors and colleagues from LUMC and Indonesia. So my pitch will be an idea to exploring the role of intestinal protozoa and inflammatory diseases. As we know that the Helminth infections, previous slide, please, previous slide. Yes, thank you. Chronic Helminth infection are associated with the inductions of regulatory T cells responses and down-modulated the allergic immune response. We know that the Helminth infection is prevalent in rural area, and we also know that the Helminth coexists with the intestinal protozoa. However, less is known regarding the intestinal protozoa. Hence, in urbanized setting, particularly in the slum setting, the prevalence of Helminth infection is very low or even zero due to a better treatment and also preventive programs. But the protozoa infections are still high and often difficult to detect. And based on our preliminary study, we investigate using the real-time PCR method, we found that approximately 50% of protozoa infection in slum area of North Jakarta. And in another hand, allergy diseases are increasing as cities expand. Therefore, this triggers us to explore the link between protozoa infections and allergic incidence in the absence of Helminths. Next slide, please. So this year we are happy to launch our first half minor program between Atmajaya and LUMC under the pilot called GOAL, Child Gut, Oral, and Lung Health. And this study is being conducted among the elementary school children in slum area of North Jakarta. The present half minor study, of course, has its own objectives. Currently, we have 3 objectives. First, to study the lung health together with the Professor Hamlan Smith. Second is to explore about the hyperresponsiveness to vaccines together with Dr. Amoa. And the last, of course, we wanted to know about how the protozoa might relate to the allergy incidence. And the idea is to expand the scope of this half minor study to a rural setting with the aim of initially to comprehending the connection between this protozoa infection and subsequently to explore the potential involvement of the intestinal protozoa in allergic diseases. And according to our preliminary data as well, when we use the microscope to detect soil-transmitted Helminth in Southwest Sumba, and the prevalence was 60%. So therefore, we thought that the small funding can support of establishing or setting up and performing the field work in the Southwest Sumba, as well as doing the community engagement, as we know that the field work is very important. Without the community, we cannot do the field work nicely and perfectly. And of course, what we want also to study, which is my very interest field, is to utilizing the molecular diagnostic to detect the parasitic infections. And of course, we want to know the how we could do the immunological assessment, for examples, by utilizing the simplest one, utilizing the ELISA, or we could do the Luminex. I'm talking about our lab. And of course, the last, but this is also very important, is to train our future scientists, including the master students, screening for the PhD candidates, so they're for the future they could create more innovative idea and also solid data analysis. Thank you very much. That's all from me. I look forward to hearing a suggestion and discussion from the audience. Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you everyone for the pitches, and thank you for keeping to time. And let's move on to discussion. So next slide. So so there are several agendas that we propose. So these are all not in order. So we hope for the rest of audience, please actively contribute in the comments. So there are so for those who have been involved in the Knowledge Hub before, so there is this Leiden Global Fund call for proposal with the deadline of the 31st October. So this is a grant that can fund a collaboration between Dutch and Indonesian institutions, and it has a cap of 15,000 euros. And so in the short term, even for this Knowledge Hub, so we hope that after all the researchers have pitched what they are interested in, and they can found a match in the other of the counterpart from the other countries. So we hopefully can facilitate collaboration and joint grant proposal writing between those teams. And there's also about determining person in charge from each participating institutions, and also there's a possibility of writing a working paper, because a topic of initiating and maintaining collaboration between Global South and North is getting traction in the scientific community these days. And finally, we can discuss how to reach out to potential partners. So how should we do this?
People have comments.
So if everyone have comments, please please type, and also for other speakers that are in the backstage, if you want to give any remark, please move on to the stage. If you have any proposal of what agenda that we should discuss first.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, everyone, if I may. I think the ideas, the pitches were very interesting, and I think the ideas to do this joint grant proposal writing and use this upcoming deadline of the Leiden Global Fund is excellent, because it gives us some push to now work forward, to move forward. I was just wondering what the ideas were for this joint grant. If the idea was really to make the matchmaking and then have several people apply simultaneously for this grant, or to use the grant more to develop the hub. It could also be an idea to apply for the grant, to organize a session, to work on the joint paper, to use this money to take some time and take a few days out of your schedule and come together to work on the hub. But that's the different roads that I see moving forward.
Well, I mean, I don't know if what others think, but I think everybody will probably, some people have already got, there's chronic kidney disease, there is leprosy, there is self-transmission. So, of course, it is the transition from communicable to non-communicable diseases. So I personally would say people can put in their own grants, but we could, as a group, also put 15,000 is not a lot of money, but it might help to strengthen this knowledge hub, meaning to try and create some discussion on whether we can start working on a grant proposal that covers from communicable to non-communicable diseases. For example, we just heard the leprosy group. They're going to do many different studies in different areas. I can imagine that people are interested in diabetes. They join and they say, maybe we can work together so we can gain knowledge on, dietary habits, but also some BMI measurements. We can try and link communicable to non-communicable diseases through a joint grant, just to start working on some grant proposals and ideas, if you see what I mean. So one can be for the hub, and one can be for people, when people can, of course, with their own partners, putting grants for leprosy, for diabetes, for soil transmitted illness. That's how I see we could do it. And of course, not all of them will get funded. Only one or two might get funded. But at least we've discussed things together and written things together. That's what I have. I don't know what you think. I don't know what others think. Don't be shy. Tanya, any comments? Prof. Inge?
Yeah, I wrote my comments. So we from UNER is interested to join in applying LUGF with Professor Maria and other colleagues from LUMC. Meanwhile, if there is, I think 50,000 euro, if divided into several studies, maybe not so many. So we will try to submit also, if from Airlangga University also open for calling for a proposal, then we will also apply. Okay.
Just to add on to this Leiden Global Fund, because I was in an information session about it yesterday, and they explained that apart from this fund that has a deadline on October 1st, there's also the regional matching fund from Leiden that you can apply for through the whole year, that when you have funding from a partner institution, you can apply for matching funding from Leiden as well. Not so much, it's also small amounts, but still it's more open. It's also less restricted in the term that you don't need another faculty from Leiden to apply, because the 31st of October seed fund, we would also need to involve someone from another faculty like social sciences or psychology or what we can think of.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to combine efforts. Also, last year I also joined Health Minor, and by taking a finger prick, you can look at many sorts of different things. I think it's great if there would be more collaboration on this. To discuss this further, maybe also for other grants, of course, because
Prof. Tanya, do you have any remarks for the initiating of the collaboration?
So, actually, I will inform my colleague at the department, as well as to other department at the Faculty of Medicine of Indonesia about this opportunity. So we hope that a lot of young generation, I mean the young scientists from Faculty of Medicine of Indonesia will join with LUMC to apply the grant. So our next generation, Maria, from us. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and Maria Kaisar, do you have and is Siti Wahyuni in Dr. Siti?
Well, well, I'm so lucky to have Professor Maria and Professor Taniawati, and they let me be here in Atmajaya. Therefore, now Atmajaya also on board. And we are setting up also our research in Atmajaya, but very happy. Last time I also joined Professor Annemiek Geluk. We contribute, we send our specimens for measurement. Actually, Prof. Annemiek Geluk sent the portable kits to us, and then we measure all the 2 sites from where we got the samples from. And this year, we have these 3 objectives from Health Minor. I think we should start from small things and then see whether or not it can develop into a more innovative idea in the future. But then, yes, we are, of course, I mean, like, people here are all my seniors, professors. You have more experience than I am. So really happy to join on board if you need uh, my very minor expertise. And I'm currently really, we have, I mean, my first, what to say that my first experience or expertise is to set up these molecular diagnostic panels. So we have that already running in our lab, both for STH and a couple of intestinal protozoa as well as malaria. So it can be always utilized for so many others studies. And what we love to do is also to have our lab more into the immunological uh, research. I would put that way.
And Bayuni was
Yeah, Dr. Wahyuni, could you give a remark? And in the meantime, yeah, there is this very nice comment from Dr. Farid Kurniawan from Indonesia about the possibility of to arrange several small meetings after the webinar to discuss further on the grant proposal, which is an excellent suggestion, and also about the topic of vaccine responses in diabetes patients, which I think very well assimilate the two topics of communicable and
Can you hear me?
yes.
I don't know. I can hear many voice right now.
maybe everyone can mute if they're not talking, and then Bayuni, you can maybe give
Yeah,
those
I'm starting talking. Yeah, okay. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Prof. Tania, Prof. Maria, Dr. Dito, Prof. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you. Lucida, Dr. Luisa, and Dr. Kaiser from the uh, yeah, from the presentation, we have seen the differential between urban, rural, between high and low socioeconomic, as well as the transition in between and how it affects our health status and quality of life. By using our expertise in different methodology in different population, we have observed a decrease uh, the prevalence of communicable diseases, which encourages still there is an increase in metabolic and inflammatory diseases. Both may associate positively, negatively, directly, or not associate at all. To overcome this, we have been collaborating on research and education. We have many exciting results. Most of this collaboration is between the same scientific disciplines. We also need collaboration with other disciplines like medical anthropologists, environmental scientists, architect, public health, social science, company, and government to create a better life behind the diversity we have, based on the principle of mutual need, mutual respect, and mutual protection. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your excellent remarks, Dr. Wahyuni and so Yoris. So glad to see you here. So we're currently discussing on what collaborations that we can do, and so there are in the pitches there are those who separately propose doing research on communicable or non-communicable diseases, but now we're discussing about possibilities of whether we can combine those two topics, the communicable and non-communicable diseases, in the same research call. And
maybe he can give
or
some
maybe
information on the chronic kidney disease.
yeah, or maybe you can give further information on the current research on chronic kidney diseases or the future joint research on the topic that you would like to have people on board?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to apologize for being way too late. A very beginner's fault of mixing the time frame. So, and it doesn't reflect the importance of this collaborations that I think that we all feel, right? So, because I'm very pleased to be part of this symposium and very motivated to contribute to well, the expansion of the collaboration between the Netherlands and particularly the LUMC and Indonesia in terms of research to promote healthcare all over the world, right? And indeed, in particular, we've been working on chronic kidney disease, which is a very common disease, both in Western countries like here in Europe as in Indonesia. And we've been working on that for the last couple of years. Primarily with the ultimate aim to identify the patients at risk and to provide them, well, I would say relatively basic care, which could actually has a major impact on the reduction of the progression. Just check, can you hear me or? Yeah, okay. And well, one of the issues that I mentioned with the pitches is that for instance, the patient with diabetes and CKD, there's a huge overlap there. So I think there are multiple options. And in general, for patients with cardiovascular disease, the risk factors for kidney disease, heart disease, and diabetes are overlapping a lot, right? So, and I do see a lot of opportunities there to merge activities and to for instance, make even larger research grant applications where the infrastructure can be used for these different patient groups. So that was my first point actually to
Yeah. Just before you came, we were discussing, for example, Louisa, she presented that she's going to do lots of studies to look at the leprosy prevalence, and by going to different places, if somebody can combine that with additional, if you're doing a questionnaire to quickly identify chronic kidney disease or biomarkers, with MADE, you're doing MADE is in Indonesia, maybe MADE can contact the other groups that are working on leprosy to try and do some of these measurements together. So that is the added value of having such a knowledge hub, of course, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to set up everything from zero, but to actually do things like this together. And that would be, the way that this knowledge hub can contribute, of course.
Yeah. Absolutely, I fully agree. In particular, because detecting chronic kidney disease is not very expensive and not very difficult, right? Just with a simple urine test or a minor blood test that is relatively easy accessible, we can identify whether a patient has severe or moderately impaired kidney function. And
the good side from infectious diseases, there was also Prof. Inge presented, and Prof. Tanya. They all have studies in different parts of Indonesia. So that is one with a little extra effort. You can, of course, then identify, as you say, with a little more effort, identify the chronic kidney disease or people at risk, etc.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else has? Prof. Inge, do you have anything else to add to this right now?
Yeah, I think because of the deadline of the proposal, LUGF, so yeah, we can keep in touch and keep touch to make the proposal.
Yes, so indeed, thank you, everyone. So the idea is to, of course, have this meeting as a Kickstarter, so not as something to end our communication among us. So hopefully after this meeting, we can arrange a small meeting, maybe already focused on topics that everyone has a passion toward. And hopefully we can be we can facilitate collaborations between researchers from Indonesia and Netherlands and possibly other countries as well to tackle this problem on the communicable to non-communicable disease transition. And so there are a lot of potential areas that we can collaborate on for sure. And so if we can go to the agenda for the discussion, so there is only one in among many agendas that we have. There are also possibilities to determine so the like person in charge from each institution, because we believe it is required to ensure sustainability or continuity of this effort, so that so we are not going to determine this in this discussion, but hopefully so from each institution we hope that you can appoint one individual to be your representative, so that the chain of communication will be more effective, because well, then hopefully there will be like only one point of contact from each institution, and everyone knows who to contact if, let's say, someone from LUMC wants to collaborate with UNER specifically or UNHAS. They know who to contact, and hopefully that person can spread the word to the required individuals. So that's only one point. Do you have any additional?
No, I was just before we move towards Sue's closing maybe the session. I was wondering whether we can, before the deadline of the grant proposals, just to have a meeting, not to show the proposals or something, but just to see who's proposed specifically what, because that would also help. So to bring this group together, as well as I saw there are people who want to join from, for example, UGM. We will, of course, add them. So as we said, we need to expand this group. So if you know of other people who are interested to join, you have to let us know. So one is appointing, as you said, a representative. So there'll be an email asking people who is the representative. And second is to maybe organize an online session before the proposals are submitted, just to get an idea of who's proposing to do what, and maybe something can be added, not necessarily to that money, but somebody is applying for this, so we can maybe expand and add additional information in the future and prepare. There are other calls. It's not only what Sue's mentioned, there's also Southeast Asia. There was a call for collaborations with Southeast Asian countries. So I think maybe we can also list these opportunities to the group, and then see who wants to do a more broader proposal. So not only, for example, on soil-transmitted helminths, but also soil-transmitted helminths plus chronic kidney disease or leprosy. So I think that's really the added value of this thing. So I think maybe two concrete steps. One is representatives, who's going to be the drivers in each institution, looking at the additional institutions, and then somewhere third week of October, maybe to organize another meeting for people to present maybe. Is that if people have other suggestions, please let us know. There's another comment. We need to maybe take that into account. Nice. Computer science. So we all read this.
Yes, I think this is a very important topic, and I believe we haven't touched upon this in this discussion, especially about system architecture. Our team is also currently involved in making databases so that data sets that originated from various countries, from various centers, can be integrated and the privacy maintained very well. And this is very important to have a global overview of what's actually going on for a certain set of problems. And indeed, a better support in this system architecture for data analysis would be a very important path to pursue in the future.
So maybe, write to us, contact us so that we know where you are also. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So should we, because we don't want to run over, it'll be really, I think it's very nice that we're on time, right?
Yes.
So we'll still skip the closing.
Yes, so thank you all for your participation, and we'd like to have Sus to give a closing remarks.
Yes, of course. Thank you to all presenters, collaborators, and participants for your valuable contributions to today's discussions. And also thank you for giving me the opportunity to provide some closing remarks. I think the research and ideas shared today underscore the immense opportunities to improve health and well-being through global collaboration, and particularly between Indonesia, involving multiple institutes, and the Netherlands, involving more institutes in the future, hopefully as well. I think the knowledge hub we are imagining provides a solid foundation to connect expertise across regions, fostering an exchange of ideas, technologies, and research that can address health challenges related to the transition from rural to urban areas, from communicable to non-communicable diseases, and changing patterns in diseases. As we move forward, I think it's important that we continue to build on today's momentum by fostering collaborations. As Maria said in the beginning, supporting early careers researchers, women researchers, and ensuring that the knowledge and innovations generated through our partnerships lead to tangible improvements in health systems and communities. Moving forward, we have a few concrete next steps. First, we will focus on research interest matchmaking and the joint grant proposal writing process. The upcoming deadline for the Leiden Global Fund on October 31st presents an immediate opportunity for collaboration, and I encourage everyone to actively participate in this effort. Each institution will designate a person to drive this process forward. As LEMC Global, I'm happy to support, such as involving other Leiden faculties, social sciences or psychology, to make it interfaculty, reaching out to other universities in the Netherlands, and involving industry or policymakers. I would also be happy to look at the list of opportunities for funding and look at other funds such as LDE Global. We also have INUCOST, which is a collaboration between the Indonesian Ministry of Education, Leiden, Delft, Erasmus, and a couple of other Indonesian universities, including some of yours here present. Tomorrow morning, there's a session on the developments of INUCOST during winter. So it might be interesting to go there, some of us, and see what's possible. There's also other bigger Erasmus Plus collaboration funds, which are not usually the funds you look at as a researcher, but happy to help you look at those as well. Well, I look forward to seeing how the discussions and research shared today will evolve into impactful actions that benefit both our regions and beyond. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sus, for the excellent closing remark, and also for summarizing the next way forward. So we are very glad that we can keep on time. So indeed, to build upon this momentum, it is very important for us to immediately contact each other if you already know who you want to collaborate with, or potentially just email everyone. Maybe there are people who you never expect you want to collaborate, but then eventually you know that you have the same interests. So after this meeting ends, hopefully we can begin our effort to collaboration, not only in research, but also in education, and maybe identify several opportunities for funding. So not only from the Leiden University Global Fund, as Sus mentioned. So thank you, everyone. So look forward to see emails from us for charting the way forward for this knowledge hub.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.